Sounds great. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
All right, just sent to you, Mike. All right, welcome everyone. This is the Tuesday, September 8th, 2020 regular school board meeting. I will call this meeting to order. It is 6:01. And the first item up for business is to make sure we have all in attendance. So we'll take a voice roll call vote, starting with Mr. Bryant.
Present.
Mr. Christensen?
I'm here.
Mr. Derrick?
Here.
Ms. Fair?
Present.
Ms. Jones?
Present.
Ms. Tower?
Here.
And Chair is here, so we have all 7 board members present this evening. We'll go ahead and stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
flag
of the
of the United States of America
and
and
to the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. I've asked Mr. Christensen to read our vision statement this evening.
The mission of the Red Wing Public Schools is to educate and inspire all students as they realize their full potential and become respectful, responsible, and productive citizens.
Thank you. The board meeting agenda has been posted on the board website, and so are there any changes? All right, seeing no changes, then we'll go ahead and vote, or I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Janie will make a motion to approve the agenda.
I need a second.
Second.
Motion made by Janie, seconded by Jim. Any other discussion on the agenda? All right, we'll take a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Christensen.
I say aye.
Mr. Derricks?
Aye.
Ms. Fair?
Aye.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. Tower?
Aye.
Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. So the agenda is as presented. As always, in our packet of information on the board book, there's our educational plan. So that is there for referral. And next on the agenda is recognitions and upcoming events. Who would like to start? Does anybody have anything to share? Heidi?
Two things. The MSBA Advocacy Tour is virtual this year, and it kicks off next Wednesday, or for us, the Southeast and Southern Minnesota districts. It kicks off Wednesday, September 16th at 7 o'clock till 8:30. And I think you just got an updated email on that late this afternoon. And then just for review, we have candidate events coming up that are taking place in the band shell. September 10th, this week, Thursday, from 5 to 7. I think we have the Minnesota House seat, the Minnesota Senate seat, and the County Commissioners race. September 15th, next Tuesday, is the school board candidate event. That's a standalone event starting again at 5. And then Thursday, September 17th, will be city council and the mayor's race for Red Wing, all at 5 at the band shell. That's it.
Thank you so much. Janie.
I know everybody also agreed, but I just want to say thank you to all of the staff and our everything from custodians all the way up to our food service. It just was a great day to drop off kids today. And for some of us that do have kids in the school district, it just was great to see everybody out there on the sidewalks with smiles on their faces and ready to go. So thanks for a great beginning to the year, Karsten, under your leadership and all the other administrators. So just wanted to say thank you to everybody. And I know that you guys all agree with that too, so.
Yes, thanks, Janie. It's a lot of effort put forth by the entire district. Pull this off and we'll see how it goes. I guess we'll hear about it today.
Mm-hmm. I will tell you, I was up at the high school for a while this morning, and I walked through the halls, and while I didn't see faces because everybody I saw was masked up, I did see a lot of smiling eyes. I think we're all learning to read people's eyes a lot better these days, and it was just a pleasure to be up there and to see kids in the wood shop, kids walking in the hallways, kids in the gymnasium. So I'm excited to hear more about how the first day went, but it was very exciting. So welcome back, everyone. I know our sports have started, and again, it's tennis, the girls swimming and diving, it's soccer, and cross country. There was going to be a meet of cross country this evening that got postponed due to the cold, windy, rainy weather, but that'll be happening next week. But I think all those sports are off to a good start as well. And I should say too, thank you to the student council. They did some fabulous decorating of the high school with welcome back signs and balloons. I think they left some presents for some teachers on welcome back. So it was very festive up there today. So thank you to the Student Senate, Student Council. Any other recognitions or upcoming events? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is public comment. I have received one item for public comment, and it is from Rose Gerdes and her family. They live at 470 Friedel Crescent in Red Wing. They have 2 kids in the district, and she has asked me to read this on her behalf. She has concerns regarding teachers and this school year. She says Red Wing teachers did not receive adequate help in packing, moving, and setting up 1 to 2 classrooms. Teachers are our biggest asset, and we tasked them with a huge undertaking in preparation for the school year. They were given 2 days to pack up, move, and then set up, while other teachers were vacating those rooms at the same time. Many teachers enlisted the help of family and friends as it took several hours. Additionally, the moving trucks were set to pick up and deliver items on the 3rd day. For teachers moving buildings, that meant the new classrooms would need to be set up over the weekend or during evening hours. Her second point is that elementary teachers' report time changed from having 45 minutes of prep time before the bell to 10 minutes. The later report time isn't adequate for teachers to enter the building and do more than turn on the lights and computer before the kids enter their classroom. I feel this change forces teachers to arrive earlier, and it was planned improperly. Can it be changed to allow Can it be changed to allow for more time at the beginning of the day and less at the end? The previous arrival time would allow for 25 minutes. And her third and last point is, what is the district doing to support teachers in their mental health? This pandemic and teaching in new ways is new to all of us, including our teachers and staff. We were told there would be support for them as well as for students. And as always, Rose and members of the public, we very much appreciate your coming forward and sharing those concerns and public comment with us. Superintendent Anderson, any thoughts or remarks on that?
Yeah, I'll just real briefly respond. The first item had to do with moving time. Undoubtedly, it was a very tight timeline as we were making decisions about school placements and teacher placements within those schools. And so I agree with Rose. It was a challenging time. I thought our custodial staff did a remarkable job as far as making those moves and then making additional moves, you know, as some other changes took place. But yeah, there's no doubt that it was a tight timeline for teachers. I'm glad that we could at least provide the 2 days of work time, you know, at the beginning of the year. I thought that was a wise move for the school board and school district to make. But still, it was challenging, and it's especially challenging not just moving rooms, but then when you're moving schools, you know, that makes it even more challenging because you're learning a new place, new colleagues, and you're changing your room a lot. There were a couple of instances of teachers who I just felt horrible about because one teacher in particular had made a move and then switched buildings. And then right at the end, because of student counts and room capacity limits, had to move another time. And my heart just goes out for that particular teacher. And she's been so flexible in the process. And with her permission, I'll share her name perhaps at the next meeting because I think we owe her some gratitude for all the moving that she did. The second point, teacher duty time. We are aware that it is tighter at the beginning of the day. I personally have not received any feedback from our elementary teachers, but you know, we're always open to listening to what teachers have to say. And I think we're starting at 7:30, and then the kids are supposed to be dropped at 7:40. You know, some parents will drop off earlier than that, so there is a short timeline. So after a week or two, the principals and I'm sure some teachers will review that to see if we should make some changes in teacher reporting time and drop-off times for parents. On the flip side, however, it might be a nice change having more time at the end of the day because then when we have special education meetings, they aren't going over their duty time at the end of the day. And so we want to factor all those things in before we make some changes. And, you know, obviously our teachers and administrators, you know that the best, and we always have open dialogue with our teachers. And so we'll come up with a good plan. In terms of teacher mental health, and that's a really important question. We do have, and it's not just teachers, it's all of our employees are going through stressful times. We do have a employee benefits program that we do encourage people to access. I know Amy French has looked at, you know, possibly changing our provider, you know, but at the same time, we still have that current offering. I think that's the best option for any of our employees. We also have, of course, our school counselors and social workers who provide some support as well. But we're all going to have to be cognizant of that as we go through the process. And again, it's not just teachers, it's every employee in the district. And of course, it involves so many students and parents and community members as well. So I appreciate Rose's comments. We share the concerns that she brought up, and we'll just keep moving forward to try to address each one.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the flight paths update. And I will turn that over to Mick. Welcome, Mick.
Thanks, Pam, and thank you, school board and everyone else for providing me the opportunity to present tonight on some updates that we're doing with the flight paths as it relates to our continued focus on our referendum promises So even though the 5-year plan was developed pre-COVID, we are continuing with our same priorities as they influence the decision making we do. And those would be our professional learning communities, our curriculum alignment, our social emotional learning and equity, and then what I get to talk about tonight, which is flight paths. So for those of you that are watching at home that maybe these are newer terms to you, it's our career exploration and readiness with that mission that all students are leaving our schools making a more informed choice on what they want to do after graduation. And I think it's perfect to have that as a focus with our district right now, so that we give students that hope and that excitement if they're future minded, that they're thinking about what are their possibilities and what are the things that they can look forward to beyond the pandemic, and have that as part of what gets them excited for school and to engage. And we shared that message with the kids today at the high school to kind of set that baseline. And then I also had the opportunity this spring to interview 133 alumni that have graduated within the last 5 years. And they shared their top things that they would go back and tell themselves that they were in school and how to make the most of it. So that also got shared with our students today. Kind of the big piece in our internships, and I'm going to work, or in flight paths, I'm going to work from our older kids backwards here, or our internships. And I want to take a moment here to thank the businesses in Red Wing. We had over 50 businesses last spring that had signed on to host our seniors in a variety of career fields and different levels of entry-level employment, and then also those going on to college. So I just want to thank them again for their partnership in the spring. Many of them stayed on to help with distance learning activities, provided some home-based projects and some interview opportunities that really helped students make those final decisions on to graduation. We are planning on doing internships again this year. We're looking at second semester. I've talked with some folks at MDE on how to make that happen, so I'm feeling pretty confident with a plan there. And we were approached so far by Goodhue County Health and Human Services, and then also the Mayo Clinic for continued partnership. So having the two of them being excited about internships makes me confident that we should be able to expand into a lot of different areas that businesses will be ready to have kids come in. With that being said, though, one of the things that we're thinking about is maybe making it that would be the extent of a student's in-person activities, so that if we have 60 kids going to different businesses, we're not bringing them all back into the school building and providing an opportunity for cross-contamination. So we have some time until we get there. That'll be part of what we would propose to kids. So, but that the application went out to kids today. We already had 15 seniors that have responded back in, so we're already seeing some excitement day one. Some other things new that we're doing. Cut me off. I'm just going to keep going. I'm excited. We're going to change the way that we're doing our career speakers. So in the past, we've had a very large group that have come in and speakers have presented to, and sometimes kids are interested and sometimes it's not quite their jam. So what we're going to do this year is kids are going to register for career speakers, and we'll have many of them on the same day, which will provide for smaller groups and more meaningful dialogue with our speakers coming in to have a group of kids that have signed up to be there and excited about that career that they have. So we're going to do that. So those of you watching at home, talk to your HR folks, and if you want to be one of our speakers, get in contact with me, and I'm going to start building that registry so we can have a nice diverse group of career fields represented. Rolling out this year too is our Intro to Flight Paths course for our 8th graders. We piloted this last spring during distance learning, and I'm really excited to have this course in. One of the benefits of having our career speakers talk to everyone is kids would go like, oh, I didn't know that thing was out there. So with our Intro to Flight Paths course, it's a dive into all 16 different career clusters. So at the core of Flight Paths is an equality among different career fields and an equality among different levels of continuing education. So kids are going to see what those careers are that are straight out of high school, 2-year degree, through the military, 4-year degree and on, and they can kind of get to see everything that's in there. So that'll help them as they get into those career speakers have a better idea of what they might want to sign up for. In our elementary schools this year, I'm working with our K through 6 specials. So we are exploring a partnership with an organization called Inside Out, and they have reached out to their volunteer network to create a bunch of different job shadow videos that are at the kindergarten through 6th grade level, so that kids can kind of see how the STEM fields are played out in real life, so they can see what the day in the life is of some of these people. So that'll be some of the STEM activities that they'll get to do. And then we're also going to do some of that with an expanding partnership with the Sheldon Theater, where they're going to do some of that with our performing artists that they have connections to, in addition to some of the music activities that the kids are going to get to do. So we'll be expanding some of the career exploration activities at our elementary levels, which is really exciting as well. I'm also going to be presenting at the National Career Pathways Network Conference this year. So I was invited to present and was accepted. And I will be co-presenting with one of our alumni. I think she was on the school board, Cayenne Corder. So originally we were supposed to be in Atlanta, and Cayenne is now down at Emory. So she's going to come in, she's going to share about the courses she took, how she was part of the healthcare career exploration class, and the difference that she feels that made for her admission to Emory, and then what she's recognized now a little over a year into being there. And so be exciting to co-present with her as that. Last couple things here. We are in the 5th year for our CTE renewal. So our career and technical education renewal has to be done every 5 years. So I'm excited to report that we are expanding the number of teachers that we will have CTE certified, and the number of courses that we're doing that we'll be able to get federal reimbursement dollars on to bring money back into the district. So we're taking advantage of some opportunities that were in front of us and can expand on those. And then finally, we're increasing the use of precision exams that are tied to some of those CTE courses. So those are our technical skill assessments. Last year, we administered more of those than any other district in the Southeast Consortium, with over 1,200 certifications. So these are pieces that students can put on their resumes and on their applications to kind of give them that cutting edge above their peers, to show not only did I take a class, but I also have a level of competency that's measured here in this recognized exam session. So we've already got students that are getting ready to sign up with those, that we're doing both with students that are in our PSEO and then also at the school as well. So that's kind of the quick update. I probably talked too fast. I really love what I'm doing. So, but if we have any questions at all, I'd be happy to share.
Holly, I see your name in the queue, so sorry about that. I missed you earlier. Do you have any?
Yes, that's okay, Pam. Thank you. Hey, Mick, are you going to be able to be this position full-time? Is that what we're working on?
I am in my position full-time.
Okay, good.
Yep. So this was my position last year, and then continuing full-time in this position this year.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to have you back.
Thank you, Holly.
Us speaking about all the exciting things that are happening. And I think it's I read earlier, this is what I was excited to talk to you about you and Cayenne going to that conference and talking about Red Wing and putting us on the map in a different capacity. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Heidi.
Hi, Nick. Could you explain a little bit more about that Inside Out program? They're providing you STEM job videos. Can you explain a little bit more of that partnership or that program?
Yeah, so it's an evolving partnership. So Inside Out, I believe they're based out of Rochester. And we're really excited to, the thing that really drew me in with them is their focus is on STEM. And one of the things that they do as a pre-test for their kids is they'll say, draw a picture of a scientist. And a lot of times what they get is, a tall white guy in a lab coat with glasses, maybe Einstein hair, maybe not. And then over the course of exploring different STEM fields and having a variety of people representing those STEM fields, different races, ethnicities, religions, genders, trying to break some of those stereotypes. At the end, the post-test is again to draw the picture of a scientist. And what they find is a lot of times kids will end up drawing a picture of themselves in the area of science that they've latched onto the most. So it's really a neat way to show that kids aren't maybe counting themselves out of an opportunity because they're not seeing it represented. So that's part of what they're going to do in our K through 6 specials. And we've allocated time in the week for PE music, art, and then STEM. And then we also have a wellness session. And so during that STEM session, they're reaching out to their volunteer network that does some of the normally in-person sessions to now make some virtual videos that we can kind of have as an on-demand feature. We're going to try to do one that's at a K2 accessibility, and then like a 3 through 6 accessibility. So the content is age appropriate and accessible. So,
Right.
but it'll be hard with some of those, trying to keep them out of their jargon.
No, that's great, because the next question I was going to ask was, are we trying to break down those stereotypes, especially for females? Or, yeah, you're in the lab, but science also happens outdoors if you're working for the DNR, the fish hatcheries, or whatever. So, no, that sounds great. I'm really glad we're getting in touch with that kind of partnership and being a part of that. So, thank you.
I'd done some research earlier this summer, and there's a couple of articles that I came across that talk about, kids at a very young age will start to prefer to play with dolls that match their gender or match their race, showing some early levels of self-awareness. And they're doing this before they even come into kindergarten. And so we want to make sure that we're not over-representing any one type of person that fits in any type of field, to show that really anywhere that you go, all people are represented in all fields. And we just need to make sure that we're matching some of those efforts in what we're doing. So I'm excited to have these partnerships that have experience doing that to kind of help us do this well as we expand into other areas.
I wish I could say I'd love to hear how this worked out at the end of this school year, but I'm not going to be here on the board. But I'm hoping you're going to communicate that with the new board members about why we entered into this partnership and what were the results you saw as far as breaking down stereotypes, getting kids more connected to either those ideas or careers, and thinking of themselves in different ways. So great work, Mick. Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi.
I have a quick question, Mick. On number 8, you talked about we've earned the most certificates last year of any school. Can you just give a few examples of what those are?
Sure. So the precision exams are our technical skills assessments, and they relate to a lot of courses that we were already offering. So in the assessments themselves, they have standards that are broken down to show the different types of competencies that they're looking at. So I talked to one student today who's taking a medical terminology course, and so we took a look at the assessment there. So she looked at her syllabus, and it turns out some of the standards that she could be assessed on are matched there. So we have that for, they go across our career areas. So we've got one for economics that we can give to our juniors. We've got a number that are in welding, in carpentry, in automotive, in our food service areas, in our marketing areas, photography, our media arts. So they're in a number. Agriculture has a lot of them, and Mr. Khan has done those for the last couple of years, and does them in his classes as well.
Thank you. I always think it's just amazing to think about all the different opportunities that we're able to provide and work with our students on. So that's really great. Thank you.
And what we try to tell kids is it's a way that if you're in a stack of papers and you've got a bunch of resumes, how are you going to stand out? And if you can have one more thing on there, that gives you that competitive edge. So it's exciting to have this as something that we dedicate some time and attention to and funds to make that happen, so that kids can put something extra on that resume to show that level of proficiency, and ensure that we are in alignment in our courses as well, because we can match what we're doing in our classes to those pieces. So it helps with our curriculum alignment as well.
That's great. I know there was some questions about whether we were able to continue with our Flight Paths plan with our hybrid plan of educating our students. So I'm glad to see that there's a whole lot still available for our students, and we're still on the right track here and continuing with our promises. This is great.
Yep. And I would say we're not only continuing, but we're expanding. And so it's exciting to be able to continue to offer more opportunities for kids.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other questions for Mick while he's here with us?
Let's give Diane our best.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other questions, well, thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Really exciting stuff. All right. School board reports. Do we have any reports from Finance Committee this evening? No, I know you met not too long ago, but you perhaps gave us an update last time. Operations Committee just met prior to this meeting. Any updates there?
Yes, if I may go ahead, Madam Chair.
Absolutely.
We met tonight. Despite my best efforts to try to continue the meeting, we were able to get done in 45 minutes today, which was kind of nice. A lot of good things going on, an update on our first day of school, transportation, and I'm sure Carson will be elaborating on most of this later on, numbers and plans if we can maybe take on additional students coming forward. We'll see as that goes. We also, transportation for the past year is under budget for our past year. I thought it was, I better be careful. I know it was in excess of $100,000 that we didn't spend out of our budget because of savings on regular bus transportation and also transportation to sporting events, etc. And then the other part was, and I'm sure Jackie will be putting more numbers out when they get further along with them. Also, the food service has got directive now to supply breakfast and lunch to all students at no charge until at least the end of this calendar year. Because of the numbers of meals served, I think he said over close to 300,000 meals served over the summer and through the pandemic. But our budget, or not our budget, but our funds are building in the lunch fund and be more finalized when the audit is complete. But things are looking good financially for our food service, which helps at least in certain areas, that because we certainly have other areas with this pandemic that are costing us more. Carson stated the two-tier bus system that we're using right now is anticipated to be similar to what the cost was when we had the other system in place. And but there's a little bit of uncertainty. If we bring more students to school because we have more capacity, we may have to add some time on, which will have additional cost for transportation. So I'm sure Carson will elaborate on that also in his report. But overall, a very positive meeting. No big issues going on what we discussed today. And I look forward to Holly and Jim to elaborate more if they'd like.
Madam Chair, I'll just pick up one thing. Arlen did a nice job of explaining everything. And we had to push him to that 45 minutes because he wanted to extend it, I think. But Brent brought up a nice topic that very thoughtful and forward thinking on the 10-year plan that we're looking at in the kitchen area there for equipment. He's going to take a step back and see where all this COVID-19 and the school, how schools are shaped and operate down the road before he decides to expand or proceed with replacing some things. He wants to see how it plays out. And I thought that was pretty nice way for him to look at how he's going to do it, not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow because of all this. At least he's taken time to take a step back and just view things and watch and see how it goes. I thought that was very refreshing. So, and I was right. I think it was 300 meals shy of 300,000 meals he served. And that's breakfast and lunch. And so the community was around, took advantage of it, and that's great. That's what it was for. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jim. Any other updates from operations? Mike, your name is in the queue.
Can I
sure.
quick do it?
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, we were also talking about transportation, and I know Arlen touched on it a bit. But with the kids walking the way that they're walking, we're hoping we can reduce the mileage of how they have to wait. So I thought that was hopeful that we could possibly do that sooner rather than later, but one day at a time.
Yes, that's always a great goal, is to make that. No, none of us want that 2 miles, so whatever we can do, if that's possible, that's awesome. Great. All right, Mr. Christensen.
Yeah, I just, I wanted to remind the board that we're receiving over $700,000 in coronavirus relief from the Coronavirus Relief Fund for our expenses from July through this December anyway. And so some people are wondering how we're going to pay for all these additional things that we're doing and just maintaining what we've got. But I think that $715,000 will go quite a long ways. And as you said, we may have saved money on the busing in the previous year. So while we're working hard to keep our costs in line with what we need to do, we do have not insubstantial support from the feds in maintaining education, and we can all be thankful for that. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that.
Thank you, Mike. I did not know that, so that's a great chunk of money that we can count on. So that's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. I thought we mentioned it in the last board meeting, but
Yeah.
It doesn't always catch on.
All right. Anything else from person?
That's all.
Yep. Operations or finance? All right. Updates from personnel committee.
All right, thanks, Pam. We also met today. I just want to go over several things. First, obviously now with kind of our new online platforms, Karsten's going to be looking into how we're going to be dealing with e-learning with all of our staff reporting units and how that might look with all the unions. So that's something, positive going forward too. I think that we've been working on for several years, and I think we're getting there. So that's great. Also, an organizational chart, which I know several of us have been bringing up about, just how things will look if certain staff members would not be able to help out. But our main thing was that we did have a leave request and talked to a staff member because it looks like some deadlines weren't followed, and now there's some requests for changes. And so I just wanted to make everybody aware that that will probably be coming up, and the committee advised Karsten and Kirby Hansen to work on a compromise and negotiating something that would be fair for both sides. So just know that probably will be coming up, and if you have more questions, probably talk to Karsten about that. So that's all I have, though. If Pam or Mike want to add more, they are more than willing to also.
Nope, I have nothing to add.
Yeah, nothing here either.
Okay. Legislative and Policy Committee, any updates there? I know we're going to be taking a good long look at some policies there, but any other updates?
Right. We did meet last month, and we checked that off. But I just wanted to remind the board that usually we are able to submit resolutions to the Delegate Assembly that MSBA holds. It's a grassroots organization that brings priorities forward from school board members throughout the state. That resolution deadline is September 25th, so I'm anticipating that we need to talk about that at our next Legislative Policy Committee, which falls on September 21st. One of the questions I had emailed Karsten and just wanted to ask, I know there's many priorities right now in the districts, but have staff uncovered anything COVID related that we could advocate for changing that would make anything easier in the future? And that could potentially turn into a resolution. And these are the bits that 120 of us get together in December, and there's background information provided by the MSBA staff, and then we decide whether it's a good idea, a bad idea. It fills a gap in policy that we need to pay attention to, and then our lobbyists or our government relation people then can argue for that up at the legislature. It doesn't mean that that's the next priority for the next legislative session, but it does mean that MSBA has researched it and come up with a position. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If there's anything, and again, this is an unusual year. We have many things to pay attention to, but this is one of the cycles of board work, is that we examine kind of our difficulties or barriers throughout the year prior, and then try to address that with some change with this delegate assembly resolution process. So I just kind of want to prep my fellow committee members, Holly and Arlen, about what those might be, and just remind staff, if there's any way we can help you do your jobs better eventually through this resolution process, please let us know. With MSBA, they're still under discussions with Delegate Assembly and the Leadership Conference, whether they will be in person or virtual. And so some of those decisions are being made now, trying to weigh and balance, can they pull it off realistically? How do they do it if they went in the virtual direction? So I just wanted to let you know that all of that is still under consideration. There's been no decision yet. And I'm sure they will let you know pretty soon what that looks like going ahead. So that's all the news I have for legislative and MSBA.
Thank you, Heidi. Other committees that would like to share updates? I will just let you know that we always have student school board delegates, and we have 3 seniors that are on our school board. They are all busy this evening, so they weren't able to join us, but we've been in discussion on recruiting. We'll need 2 juniors who will be joining us. We thought we'd let the dust settle a little bit here in the school year and see how things are kind of panning out, but there are plans in the works for reaching out to our junior class. If you are a junior currently watching this and you are interested in being a school board member, reach out to myself or Superintendent Anderson and let us know about your interest. But we will be also reaching out to all of you very shortly. So that will be forthcoming. Any other updates from committees? All right, seeing none, then I will ask Superintendent Anderson to give us his administrative update.
Yeah, I just have one quick update to share. We talked about having kind of a plan in place for in-person board meetings. Don Wettern is working with Shonda Jorgensen on kind of some of the protocols that need to be followed with those open meetings, including cleaning of spaces after use of the facility, location of the meetings, how we're going to socially distance, between board members, provide public comment, those things. They're going to narrow down some of the potential locations of those meetings, and then we're going to test out some technology to see how that will work. The biggest concern would be how are we going to handle feedback so that we can conduct the meetings in an effective way. I will say that we had plans to do a test about a month ago, I think, but that's when I was really sick there for a week or so, and so I had to cancel that test. But I know Charlie's been looking at some different options on how to conduct those meetings. So just wanted to give you an update that we haven't forgotten about it, and that we'll be doing a test here in September. And that's all I have right now. Everything else is related to the first day of school and E12 learning plan.
Great, thank you. All right then, next up on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to pull from the consent agenda this evening?
Yeah, I would like to withdraw or pull off item number 4, new hires and reassignments.
Okay. Any other changes to the consent agenda? All right, then I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda minus number 4.
Motion to approve the consent agenda minus number 4.
Moved by Holly, looking for a second.
I'll second that.
All right, moved by Holly, seconded by Heidi. Any other discussion? All right, well, let's vote on the consent agenda as presented, starting with Mr. Derricks.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Arvin.
Sorry, I said aye, except for item number 4.
Thank you. Ms. Fair,
Aye.
Ms. Jones,
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Tower, Mr. Bryant,
Aye.
Mr. Christensen,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Thank you, everyone. Now, number 4.
Great, I just have a few additional changes to make. Before I make those changes though, we did add 6 names to the consent agenda just today. So the last 6 names on there are, new additions compared to what the posting was last Wednesday. And it's simply because we've been hiring on a daily basis since the board packet was posted. So that's why we have those 6 additional folks there. A couple more changes. First of all, Isaac Matzik, the assistant principal at the high school, was already approved at that step at a previous meeting, so you can cross that off the consent agenda. Renee Cry is listed twice. The one that should be crossed off is the first time her name is mentioned as a reassignment. She used to work for the school district, and then she took some time off, but now she's back. And so officially she'd be hired as a general ed para, not as a reassignment. And then also we do have a Twin Bluff Middle School mentioned several times, and that should say Twin Bluff School for the upcoming school year. Those are the changes I have. There may be some additional questions too.
Any other additional questions on number 4?
I do, but I'm not in the queue, so I don't know if anybody else is.
Nope. Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, thank you. I think down the road, I'd like to, I don't know who or how we can do that, but it seems to be all over the board on the consent agenda, the steps people are, and I'm not understanding the rhyme or reason how we reach that. So today's not the night. Tonight's not the night to do it, but I would like some information on how we do that, because I'll just leave it at that. I'd just like to have some information on how a step is decided when a job offer, when somebody accepts a position.
Sure. I know that sometime, hopefully this fall or winter, we were going to talk about hiring practices. And so I think that would be a great time to talk about placement decisions for each employee group, because it's obviously directly related. So if you're okay with that, Jim?
Yes.
Would you mind if, okay, that sounds good. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions on number 4? Okay.
If
seeing
not,
none,
I'll make a motion to accept the number 4 with all the additions and changes that Superintendent Anderson spoke of.
And Mike, second.
wonderful. Any other discussion? If not, we will start with Ms. Fair to vote on number 4.
Aye.
Ms. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. Tower,
Aye.
Mr. Bryant,
Aye.
Mr. Christensen,
Aye.
Mr. Derricks,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Number 4 is passed. Thank you, everyone. Donations and grants. Do you want to present on that, Superintendent Anderson?
Sure. We have 3 items. First of all, Minnesota Corn Growers Association donated 500 bags of, each bag had crayons, pencils, and erasers for elementary students. The Big Picture Company donated $1,000 for the Learn and Earn program. The 133rd Air National Guard donated $1,600 from a school supply drive, notebooks, 3 reminders, folders, and some other school supply items. So once again, thank you to those 3 entities for their donations to our students.
Thank you so much. That's it always warms my heart when we get to this part of the agenda every time. So thank you to those 3 partners that are working with us. I would look for a resolution motion.
I have a question,
Oh, yes.
and I have a question, Pam.
Yep, go ahead.
So, Karsten or Jackie, we've acknowledged that recently that several foundations have made extremely large donations to us. When do those typically show up on the donation and grant resolution? Is it when certain paperwork is accomplished, or I guess I just wonder if anybody can speak to that more directly. And then a second question is, with this donations and grants process, do we need to accept also these unusual grants that we're getting, one time? How do those factor into this recognition that we have accepted these monies into our coffers, to be spent in the district?
I can answer the first part.
Okay.
You cut out during the second part, so you may
Okay.
need to repeat that, but I'll say the first part. I did receive the letters of donation and some checks from some local foundations. And so I was hoping to present both of those at the next meeting. And so they'll be duly noted, just like these donations were. So those are coming up very soon.
Okay.
And sometimes the grants or donations like that come with kind of letters of expectations, or or something like that. And so we'll either make a reference as a designated purpose, or if it's easier, we'll just include the letter so that it's transparent to everyone. But yeah, those donations are definitely coming through. I have the paperwork, and I just want a little more time to really highlight those significant donations at the next meeting.
Okay. And then my second question was, and this is for transparency, that we're accepting, dollars from certain entities, and we certainly want to recognize them, but it's also an accountability to the public that, this sum of money has been taken into the school district. Are we required to do anything different with this one-time only federal money, or different grants coming, or the county designating a certain amount of dollars attached to our students for childcare? Are those funds any part of this process that we're looking at right now?
That's a very good question, Heidi. And Jackie, I don't know if you know the answer, but if not, we can certainly check with the School Board Association to see if we need to officially acknowledge those or not.
I am not sure on the county money, but the federal coronavirus money is coming through just like our federal Title I and federal special ed aid would.
Okay.
So we haven't had a practice of recognizing those in the past, so I don't know where our policy stands on that. I'd have to double check, but all that coronavirus money is coming as like the ARRA money came back in the early 2009, 2010 as a supplement of the title programs.
Right. Okay. And and I can see why the county money is different, and it might be a one-time only deal. And then federal aid is federal aid, and state aid is state aid. But I just as Mike kind of touched on earlier under school board reports, just trying to make sure that the public knows we are receiving additional funds. Some of them have, stipulations that this should be used for technology. This money should be used for that building. Those donations. I just want to keep track that we're doing the right thing. And again, just trying to let the public know that we are receiving additional funds for support purposes in many different ways, and it's all good. But I just want to publicly acknowledge that, there are funds coming in. We are aware of them as a board. Our administrative staff, business manager certainly is managing that too. So, all right, thanks.
All right, so we need to vote on that resolution to accept those donations and grants.
First, we need a motion.
Yes.
So
Would someone like to
moved.
make a motion? Mike made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second by Jim.
All right, any other further discussion? If not, we'll start the voting with roll call. Heidi,
Aye.
Ms. Tower,
Aye.
Mr. Bryant,
Aye.
Mr. Christensen,
Aye.
Mr. Derricks,
Aye.
Ms. Fair,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. And again, thank you for those wonderful donations. It's great. All right, under business items number 4, the first is to approve proposed policy revisions. And I'll turn it over to Superintendent Anderson.
Yeah, we went through a first reading and then a second reading at the special board meeting. And so the policies listed are presented for approval this evening. Before they were first presented to the board, they were submitted to the Legislative and Policy Committee for review first.
So I'm looking for a motion then to approve the revised policies.
Is Arlen in the queue?
Arlen, you're in the queue.
Yes, I move to approve the revised policies for the 2021 school year as presented.
Looking for a second.
I will second that. Heidi Jones.
Any other discussion
I
on
was gonna get
the
into
policies? Seeing no other discussion, we will start with Ms. Tower.
Aye.
Mr. Bryant,
Aye.
Mr. Christensen,
Aye.
Mr. Derricks,
Aye.
Ms. Fair,
Aye.
Ms. Jones,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Thank you to the policy committee for that great work. That's a lot to review. So thank you so much for all that you did to get those policies ready for us.
You're welcome.
All right. Agenda item 4.2 is custodial positions. Superintendent Anderson and Alan Gaylor are the presenters for this.
I'll just briefly introduce the topic and then Alan can provide the rationale. At a recent school board meeting, 2 additional custodians were hired primarily to cover cleaning needs at Jefferson School. Board members at the time, though, did indicate they would be willing to add other custodial positions if a plan was presented for their for consideration. And so Alan is here to briefly describe how we would use 2 additional custodians over and above the 2 we hired for Jefferson School.
Good evening, everyone. I'll just briefly go over some of the bullet points that I have in the justification for the request being made. The 2 custodians would be assigned primarily to the high school due to the number of students and the fact that they are moving from room to room at the high school. Within the K through 4 learning classes, the kids are staying in each room throughout the day. They're not moving around as much, which will require a little bit more cleaning on that part. They would be working primarily during school hours to help stay on top of basically constant disinfection of high-touch surface areas. On days when we have a custodian off due to sickness, vacation, COVID, close contact, we would have them fill in as substitutes, custodians throughout the district. So they would be moving around, covering them areas. With the high cleaning levels required at all buildings, that worries me about keeping up if we are short a custodian in any building at any time. That would really help fill that gap, since really our on-calls or sub-list is very hard to kind of secure. These 2 positions would be eliminated through attrition once this pandemic is under control and school would go back to normal. So if somebody retired or moved on, we would not fill that position back at that time. barring that COVID-19 is over. One more thing I would like to share is, if you remember, we have Kids Junction, and typically we only had Kids Junction at one building throughout the school year, and now we went to K-4. So now we have Kids Junction in every building, in every space, which is really strapping our needs for keeping them areas clean. So them are some of the justifications for my request at this time.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve. Jim.
I'll second that. Heidi.
Motion made by Jim, seconded by Heidi. Any other discussion?
I'll add that we can likely use our federal COVID dollars to pay for these positions through December 30th. And there are, I'm sure, other funds too. Plus, we just need the good cleaning and disinfecting practices.
I'll just add, Madam Chair, if I may, without going in the queue.
Yep.
We just listened to, at our operations meeting, Mr. Gaylor talked about kind of minimize the role of his crew in the buildings and the crew outside and what they did and needed to do and had to do when the schools when we shifted in August from K through 4th and such, 5th through 12th, how they had to move people around. Just about every school had a large number of people that need to be moved, and he and his staff jumped in and took on that task. And from what I'm hearing from others and today at the operation meeting, did a wonderful job. And I think you're absolutely right. And I said this earlier last month that, we need to have him. I'm glad he presented today. So I'll be happy to vote in favor of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I will go ahead with the start of the roll call vote then, starting with Mr. Bryant.
I'm in the queue.
Sorry. I see you, Arlen.
I don't know, was Heidi ahead of me too?
That's okay.
Oh.
I voted. I made the motion.
All right. I just want to say, I know I wasn't in favor of hiring the janitors back in the first week of August, and it's not that I was opposed to hiring janitors. It was that I wanted to make sure our plans were all in place coming into the school year and being open. And we are, and I'm fully 100% behind this, and it's absolutely necessary that we have these janitors. It's part of sending a message to the public that yes, we are going to have clean and sanitary schools. We are committed to it, and our schools are open, and this is essential to have this. So thank you.
Heidi, did you have any other comments?
No, I just wanted to be in the line to help second the motion or whatever, so.
Okay.
I beat her to it.
So
Yep.
the motion's made by Jim, seconded by Heidi. Any other discussion?
I just have I'm in the queue, Pam.
Oh, yeah, Holly.
Yes. Arlen, I'm just going to gently tell you, we call them custodians. Just a little FYI. We moved on from the janitor term.
Any other
I
discussion?
stand corrected then, I guess. Sorry if I offended anybody.
Any other discussion? All right, I will start the roll call vote with Mr. Bryant.
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Christensen,
Aye.
Mr. Derricks,
Aye.
Ms. Fair,
Aye.
Ms. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. Tower,
Aye.
and chair votes aye, so that passes 7-0. And again, Mr. Gaylor, thank you to you and your crew for, I know, all the extra work that you're doing to keep our schools clean, but not only that, but to make sure that our staff have the necessary things in their own classrooms to provide their own cleaning that they are required to do as well. I know that's a big undertaking, so especially opening up another school. So thank you for that extra work.
You're all very welcome.
All right, Superintendent Anderson is up next to discuss the E12 learning plan and the first day of school.
Great. First, it was a great day today. I think very productive and emotional, but it was great to see kids and staff in the building. We gave kids the choice to learn online only, which is definitely the right thing to do. And it was just a great day overall. So want to thank not only the students and their parents, but obviously all employees, the board, for all the work that's been done since March 13th to get to this point. So once again, thank you. Really, I don't have a lot to share, but I'll just go over some of the things that we're really following quite closely. First and foremost, the COVID rates for the county. They did go down slightly from the August 9th through August 22nd. So that's good news. But I think we're all aware that with a Labor Day weekend, of course, with school starting, colleges starting, that I think there's a good chance that those rates will go up. And just wanted to reassure you that we are looking at those very carefully. We have a good working relationship with the County Health and Human Services as well as the Department of Health. And so I think it's a good team led by Don Wettern, Joni Gorman, and Shonda Jorgensen here at the school. So I'm very confident in their work. Transportation went really well this morning. Was not perfect. There were a couple of kids who were not picked up, even though they should have received some bus assignments. And it was related to the issue that was brought up during our special meeting when, someone was asking for an exception to the walking zones. Well, we discussed it at the board level, and sure enough, we double checked the distance that family was from Jefferson School, and they were over 2 miles. So they should have been offered transportation originally. Well, it turns out that there was another family kind of in the same area that had the right distance in our student management system, but for whatever reason, the GPS maps did not pull their names into the busing list. And so, yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, but we're making those corrections. The buses always run late every year. They were a little bit late this year, but it wasn't bad. In fact, Terry Johnson told me that the morning routes, the biggest issue is that the buses are getting there too early, which is a good sign because hopefully we can make some adjustments in those pickup times. The afternoon routes were a little bit late as well, but overall very good. Terry did stress that he loves not having transfer buses. That is a big thing, not only for Terry and the drivers, but for our staff, students, and their parents. It's really nice not having those transfer buses. On the flip side, though, we really want to do something about those 2 mile walk zones, especially for the elementary kids. And I know in a couple of weeks, the transportation router and bus company are going to start analyzing that and hopefully start lowering them over several days or even weeks. So that's very encouraging. I see Janie's name came up. Did you have a question about transportation?
Yeah, just specifically about that, Karsten. I know we have to go by policy as far as, a 2 mile busing radius or such or walking zone. But I guess I would ask, is there kind of a framework where we could just also, you could be looking at these individual cases of having kind of problem areas or zones of higher priority than necessarily just opening it up to a smaller distance of walking? Because I do know, as we've heard, there are some areas that just are of higher, danger or higher importance. So I just wanted to ask if that's even an option or if it really has to be done by, a certain distance.
Yeah, we can and should do both, I think. And I'll give you an example for grades 7 through 12 going to the high school. People who live on Bush Street in the area by Quick Trip, well, they cannot get there with sidewalk. It's on the shoulder of Highway 58. And I know they're older kids, but in past years we would pick up, where on the street where there is a sidewalk and some other selected areas, and we want to go do that again. And so I already authorized that. There are several other areas in town that have, higher needs. And so we look at those first. And at the same time, I think we can lower those walking zones. So there will come a point when, there's some questions about whether or not something really is hazardous or not. And so we may need to look for school board direction there, but I'm very confident that we'll be able to reduce those walking zones. The biggest concern is that we do have those capacity limits set by the state. We cannot do more than 50% capacity. And so we don't want to lower the zones so far that we add so many kids, and then all of a sudden when it gets colder out, we have more kids riding, and then all of a sudden we have to go back again. So we'll probably do it slowly, but surely as we lower those walk zones. In terms of food service, Brent was very pleased with the first day. Of course, as you may know, we are able, well, as Arlen mentioned earlier, we're able to provide free breakfast and lunches to all students if they're in our school, or really it's children 18 and under. So people from the community will be able to come to the high school to pick up meals. I know Brent is working on providing meals to the other schools in the district, some daycares and those kinds of things. So he's ramping that up, but it went well. I sent another message out today so that all parents are reminded again that the breakfasts and lunches are available for nothing. We have a couple of little things to worry about or to work out. I know at Jefferson we don't have a system yet for providing milk for those kids who bring their own lunches to school. Those kinds of things. But I have no doubt that Brent and the staff will address those things. Probably in terms of, Janie, you had a question about food service?
Sorry again, I haven't been able to speak to my kids since they got home from school, but I know there's been some confusion from parents of, are we actually offering like normal hot school lunches, or is it just right now like the normal big lunch that they would have received in the summer? I just haven't, I felt like it hasn't been clear, and I just was wondering kind of what it is and when we're going to communicate if there's going to be any changes in that then.
Well, thankfully, Brent Luxvold's on the call, so he can answer that one directly.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Brent.
No problem. Okay, so what we did to keep things really simple was to just do a cold menu. And I kind of did it for the first couple of months. We really wanted to get our feet wet just with the delivery system. And I think a thing that really complicated kind of the start for food service was just the late announcement from USDA. And then, we didn't get guidance from MDE until like Friday at 4:00 on how we should proceed with it. And mainly their guidance to us before that was don't change anything, keep in your current program, because they needed to talk with USDA. I think they were really concerned about having enough funding to actually go to the end of December. So the breakfasts primarily are comprised of dry items, so pretty much a cereal bowl pack Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're doing kind of a Pop-Tart, snack bread type deal. Lunch is at least K through 6 is cold. 7 and 8 will have options to hot lunches. And where it got a little bit kind of complicated is half of the 8th grade. I think the ones in like choir, gym, and there's one other specialty I'm forgetting. They come down to the cafeteria. So there's truly 4 lunch runs in the high school, 2 of which are happening at the same time. So the 7th and 8th grade are not only in the classroom, but then also half are in the cafeteria. And so there's hot options for 7 through 12. So basically for the classroom students, we basically just choose the most popular item, and that's kind of what we're delivering to the 7th and 8th graders. And then we'll kind of figure out some flexibility, I think, as we get our feet under us. A big concern was really not only feeding the kids in the school environment, but it was also focusing then on the families that may have food insecurities in our community and really being able to balance the two. And I did freeze some of the food service positions early on because I was a little bit afraid of the number of meal counts we might get under the free, reduced, and paid program versus now the free. And so we may have some staffing where I may repost coming up just because our staff may need help trying to do both programs now.
So just to follow up a little bit more in detail, and sorry, I have 2 boys in high school where lunch is extremely important. So like for other people, but so can they, I guess, can people expect to have what their normal offerings would be for 9 through 12 right now? Or is it quite different then?
It is quite different. So 9 through 12, there is only 2 options. And a lot of it has to deal with the social distancing that's required when they go through. Typical school year, we would probably had anywhere between 7 to 9 offerings each day. So obviously for students that come down through the cafeteria now and only have 2 options, it is a little bit of a shock. And that's part of it, is just trying to have the staff to be able to do the free meal programs both in-house and out now has complicated it. So I think it was wise that we kind of just did a 2-week menu cycle and kept hot options available, at least at the high school, and then kind of work it out as we get our feet wet and as we start to assess the environment and the new norm.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I just think that, that'll be helpful for parents to hear if we can somehow maybe communicate that more out too. And so the kids know, I think, of course, it was the first day and everybody got fed. And so that's the number one thing. I just, I just knew that the high school kids I just didn't know exactly what had happened. Or what the plan was. So thank you so much for sharing that.
No problem. And I do know, like, there is some confusion, I think, out there too with, some individuals wanting to pack like a home lunch and then being able to purchase milk. But I do believe it gets a little bit complicated at the lower levels when you try and add in an a la carte milk. And then it's one more piece, I think, that's added on to the teachers to try and communicate back. And so I'm trying to be really mindful too of, that piece. So I think we may just have to send a reminder too to families about reminders on the water bottles. And that milk is, I think, for our neighborhood schools, probably can't be sold a la carte just because of it just adds that extra element right now where we just really need to be mindful of the amount of time with curriculum. So.
Great. Thank you, Brent. Really the other one, or the other issue that became apparent, we knew there would be technology issues. I mean, every other school's had the same kind of issues in terms of kids logging in, availability of Chromebooks and those kinds of things. It actually went a lot better than I thought today. But one area that I noticed is that our teachers in grades K through 6, need some Chromebooks because it works a lot better in hybrid for a teacher to have 2 computers. One is their base computer, which is a laptop, and that's the device that's typically used to show presentations on smart boards or on digital televisions. But then because they're also teaching kids at home, it's a lot better for those teachers that have Chromebooks so they can actually see the people online. And so we're really tight on Chromebooks right now because we didn't receive as many back from parents as we thought we would at this time. And so they're making sure that our kids receive the Chromebooks that they have, but then we also need to provide those Chromebooks to teachers in grades 5 through 6. So that's a big item. Kind of related to that is they also need power cords, especially at Jefferson because there aren't many outlets in that older building, and those kinds of things. So as we iron those things out, I think it'll be a lot better for students and teachers. But overall, the technology went a lot better than I thought. Really, that's all I have. I'm sure there's some other perspectives, some other questions that might arise, and I'll do the best to answer them.
Any questions about the first day of school?
Karsten, this is Heidi. Where are we at with staffing right now? I mean, we've had a lot of hires. We've had a number of resignations. Is there anything we still desperately need right now, or other priorities lower down, or?
Yeah, right now we are adequately staffed, but we are not in any way overstaffed.
Okay.
And so probably the biggest area right now would be our special education assistants. We have enough to meet the minimum requirements, but we're not at the staff level that Sonia needs. It's a great job, does important work. You know, so we'll be interested in taking more applications for those positions. You know,
All right.
certainly, you know, we're going to be hiring 2 more custodians. So, you know, we're always looking for applicants there, but I think Alan has a solid applicant pool. And then the other really big area that we need still is substitutes. We need substitute teachers and substitute paraprofessionals. Through September, we are paying our substitute teachers $200 per day. Some can do it day by day, so they can decide if they want to come and sub on a certain day. Others we're hiring for the whole month of September. And so again, that would be at $200 per day. We really want more substitutes in the system.
Okay. Thanks for the update.
Then I think Holly may have had a question.
Mike's up first, then Holly.
Sorry.
Yeah. I just want to say how amazing it is that this has been the lightest first day of school report that I can remember since I've been on the board. It's almost too good to be true, and it may be. Everybody might have lowered their expectations enough to accept any hiccups that there might have been. But it goes to show how much planning our administration has done, the efforts that our staff have gone through to pull off this extremely complex and convoluted and brand new scenarios for our students. So everybody gets in the swing and understands. It looks like they pretty much understand where we're at. And it's great to have the cooperation. Brent always does a great job. And again, it's like that. You're going to go a piece at a time and see what happens. That's all we can do, because it's a very it's an unfolding situation. It's not exactly certain where it's headed. But it's great to hear that the first day went well. And I think that speaks very highly of the commitment of our staff and administration. So thank you all for being so cooperative, as well as our students and the families. It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all.
Say, Mike, I will say that, well, Mike and Heidi will remember this, but one of my first years here, the meeting started at 5:30 and I was waiting for the bus contractor to call because there were still some buses out en route. And so it felt really good talking to Terry today that the buses were in, all the kids were accounted for, you know, those kinds of things. But I appreciate those comments a lot, Mike. I know there's been a lot of planning, and just as important, there's been a lot of flexibility that our staff members have shown. This is a big deal to them walking into, you know, in-person schooling, you know, with COVID, with lots of uncertainties. We move people all over the district, you know, our teachers, support personnel, and they've really taken it in stride, and that's really helped a lot. And you know, and I'm not going to start thanking people because it goes on, and I don't want to leave people out, but almost every area of the school district really kicked it into gear to make this happen.
Holly.
Thank you. I just have a quick question, Karsten. With the $200 a day sub rate, is that more than any of our teachers are making at the entry level?
No, it's not. It's less than that.
Okay, so no, they're not making more than any teacher that we have on contract.
Any full-time teacher, correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
good. I just wanted-
$200. Yeah, and by the way, I'm really glad you asked that because it
Yeah.
sounds like a high number. $200 times, about 170 days, that's about $34,000. Whereas a beginning teacher, I think, is just over 40. And then, of course, teachers also get benefits as well. But we are cognizant of that because, we want people to choose to be regular employees, whenever possible instead of just relying on subs. So I'm glad you asked that question.
Yep, just want to clarify.
Any other questions about our first day of school?
Well, thank you, everyone. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah. And again, I'll just say it was a great opportunity to see our kids. I watched the bus go by this morning in front of our house, and I know it's just exciting to see everyone back out and around. And I know our kids are really anxious and excited to get going. I know there was a lot of stress and anxiety about how this day would go and how this year would go. And I think we just need to get in and get going and have a routine. And I think we'll all feel a little bit better about it as the days go on. So thanks for the great effort, everyone. All right, next on our agenda is the designation of identified official with authority.
Yeah, this is just a resolution that we approve each year to designate myself and this year Lisa Stigurda to act in those ways. What happens after these designations is that I give authority for different people in the district to fill out applications, to finalize budgets, to accept monies, those kinds of things. So this designates both Lisa and me to do that work.
Any questions on that, Holly?
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if you can say, speak to this, Carson, but who held this position in the past with you?
It was Glenda and myself.
Okay. I was just curious because I don't remember it last year, but that means nothing. I completely forgot.
Yeah,
and so I just wanted
I get
to,
so frustrated with the bureaucratic stuff on this. But when it was first implemented at the state level, I was not a happy camper because it was hard to find and no one knew what roles. And now it's really slick. It goes like that. I haven't trained Lisa in on that yet, but that'll be coming and it'll be a relatively smooth transition.
okay, thank you.
Well, then I will make the motion.
Arlen has
Sorry, Arlen. You're on mute.
You're on mute, Arlen.
Sorry, I'll defer to Heidi because she's going to do what I was going to do.
Oh. All right, I'll make the motion that we approve Karsten Anderson as the identified official with authority and Lisa Stigurda as the IOWA to add and remove names only for Red Wing School District 0256-01.
Moved by Heidi,
Mike will second for Arlen.
seconded by Mike. Any other discussion? All right, any other discussion? No? All right, then we will start the roll call vote with Mr. Christensen,
Aye.
Mr. Derricks,
Aye.
Ms. Fair,
Aye.
Ms. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. Tower,
Aye.
Mr. Bryant,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. That passes 7-0. Thank you, everyone. Upcoming meetings and future topics. We have Tuesday, September 15th, meet your school board candidates at the band shell from 5 to 7. September 21st is we have 4:45 policy, I believe, and a 6 p.m. school board meeting. September 28th, we have a 4:45 finance meeting. and a 6 p.m. school board workshop on equity. And then just so you all know, I have registered to attend the MSBA Phase 3 workshop for school board members on building a high performance board team. That'll be the end of September and October 7th. That's virtually. Any other meetings or upcoming future topics that we want to highlight? Anybody? And for the time being, we'll continue to meet virtually until we have any further discussion on that. So that will continue to be our format. And then the last item is adjournment, looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mike.
Jim beat you to it, Mike, but I'll give you the second. How about that?
And delay.
Moved by Jim, seconded by Mike. Any discussion? All right, roll call vote to adjourn, starting with Mr. Derricks.
Aye.
Ms. Fair,
Aye.
Ms. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. Tower,
Aye.
Mr. Bryant,
Aye.
Mr. Christensen,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. We are adjourned and it's 7:30.
Enjoy the night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
You
you, night.
too.